What is up, good people? Crypto Prepper here. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Yesterday I did a Bitcoin video and I forgot to do the recap of the coin market cap. And I guess we're in extreme greed after this last week's nice little pump up. So, since I did Bitcoin yesterday, I'm going to show you how to set up a bot on ETH that will produce or could have produced a 20% APY and talk about why I use some of the settings I do. Okay, so you can see ETH has popped up 29%, 20, almost 30% in the last week. And we are going to set up a bot and I'll show you running a back test that it would have produced a 20% APY over the last 365 days. Okay, so let's start over here with this start bot button. And we are going to go down to DCA. And then in this point, my exchange defaulted at Coinbase. That's the one we're going to use anyway. Then you're going to select your pair. So with ETH, you got to do ETH and then USDC because there's all these weird CBITH and ETH-FI and all that blah blah. So you got to basically type it out and then still choose it. Okay, so we've got our exchange and our pair here. We are going to leave this strategy at long um, and then change the investment amount to 1,000. So these bots need to be started out with at least 1,000, can be scaled up as big as you want. And then you're going to click this little manual adjustment and bot settings. Leave this place base order at immediately and change the base order amount to 31.25. That's going to immediately buy $31.25 worth, $31.25 worth of ETH. And then the remaining orders you're going to put for the averaging orders amount 968.75. So if you add those two numbers together, you're going to get that 1,000. And I think I showed you just briefly in that Bitcoin video how to easily scale that up so that so that it recalculates all your numbers for you. And then we are going to change this averaging orders quantity to 5. Sometimes it defaults for me at 5, and this time it didn't. Then we are going to change the averaging order step percentage to 8. Okay. Scroll down a little bit, go down to the amount multiplier, and you can either click and drag, or you can just hit the X2, whichever you prefer. Same thing with the step multiplier, but we're going to go the other way and turn that off. Take profit is going to be 5%, and that's one of the things I'm going to show you why I chose 5. It just seems to be a better option for most of my bots, except for the Bitcoin bots. Typically, 3% is a good take profit for Bitcoin, even though yesterday was a little bit of an exception. Okay, so then we are going to run this back test and choose 365 days. Now, everything that I've shown you so far, except for the back test, can be done with the base plan on Bitscap. And I do have a referral link in the description if you want to help support the channel, but you don't need to. You can just go straight to bitscat.com and get started with the basic plan for $29 a month if you pay by month, or 23 per month when you get for the year. So definitely I would go with the year, and then keep an eye out for, you could even do month to month, being August now, because in November they typically hold a Black Friday sale, and that's when um, I pay for my pro. I've got the pro account, but for the first 3 or 4 years that I've used this program, I only did the advance. So you can, you have the back test up to 180 days. And with the pro, you've got the back test up to 365. So I'll do all the pro back tests for you. You can do everything else I've showed you so far with the basic plan until you're ready to pop up to the advanced and do more bots and give yourself a 6-month back test. So with this basic plan, you can do 10 of those active DCA bots plus 3 grid bots. And I've talked a little bit about grid bots. I'm not currently using them, but I might implement them again in the future. I don't know yet. So you could do 10 active DCA bots and 3 active grid bots at the same time. Yep. All right, let's get back to it. So I'm going to do my 365-day back test and then hit this little back test button here. And you can see here I did keep the pump dump protection on, but since we are in we're moving into a bull market, hopefully, um, I do recommend what I will be doing. I've done with my current bots is I've turned that pump dump protection off. Okay, and I was playing around with these settings and I thought I'd just do it from scratch for you. But there was a setting, let's see. So you saw the averaging orders 8 step% and only gave me a 12.74% APY. Let's make sure I got all these other settings. Let's see what changing this does. So typically in the bullish posture that we've been in over the last 365 days, um, that pump dump protection is better to remain on. Let's see. I've already forgotten what it gave me with the pump dump protection on. So 12.88. So it did perform a little bit better with the pump dump protection off. So that's interesting because what I've been finding is, and maybe it's changed since we've done this, since ETH has done this nice little pop up the last week. Maybe that helped out because I did notice with my live bots, um, that when I had my pump dump protection turned on, it was showing here as pump dump and it wasn't buy, it would sell and then it would not immediately buy. It was waiting. So then I might buy a little higher. So then my return was a little bit lower than it otherwise would have been without this on. So maybe that's the reason that, so we'll just leave that off. And let's see if so the well, like I mentioned yesterday, one of the first things that I change when I'm going through these bot settings and looking at these back tests is I'll change this averaging order step%. And that is the distance between these lines, these order lines here. So let's see, I think it actually might have been 7.5 because what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll start out the averaging order step% at 5 or 6. Lately, I've started a little higher because I know that 5 and 6 don't work. Because you can look at 5 here, and we'll run a back test on that, and you'll see what I mean by it doesn't work. Even though it gives you a better return, it hasn't had any activity since the last day of January. So that's not nice when you want to be able to check on your bots every so often, maybe about once a month, every other week. Excuse me again. You like to see the movement and to be out of range this whole year, it's kind of demoralizing. So, excuse me, I just need to get a little drink there. Um, so you can see here that it hasn't done anything and it won't do anything until you probably get back up to here. So you need about another $200 move. So let's change this back to 7.5, sorry, and run that back test there because you're going to see a better return. And one of the other things I like to see in these back tests, well, actually, probably almost as important as the return. No, of course, the return is the most important. That's what we're here for, is to make passive income with these dang things. But the other thing that I like to see, of course, is the continuation. And I think I want to say you'll have to look at my other videos that I've done on ETH because it's been a little while since I've done one on ETH, but maybe when I was around here, and I think even here it was protected down to like 1400, so it never fell out of range. It may have been fully vested here. Let's see. because it sold and purchased here. One, two, three, four, five, six. So it was fully vested there. And then on June 16th, you got a nice little payday for being so patient with this. But anyway, you can see here 20% return. And then we've got the continuation with the bars, of course, with this move up. Every time it sells, it's going to immediately restart the bot and just automatically do it. So, of course, we have the continuation here. The third thing, and the maybe the least important, but still, I like to see a lot of activity. I don't like to see big gaps. Like maybe this one went from February 5th. It was fully vested at that point. So it it purchased here, purchased, sold, and purchased right away. The red, if you've seen some of my other videos, sometimes you can see the little red circle. That means it's sold. But what this bot does is as soon as it sells, with that pump dump protection off, especially, it'll immediately buy. So that green is covering up the red. So I know it sold here because it went up from the previous one. So it sold and then purchased right away. And then it purchased again and then purchased again and again. So there's six total limit orders. One, two, three, four, five, six. So at this point, it was fully vested. And with this $1,000 bot, once it moved up that 5%, you got paid $50. So you can scroll, when you do your back test, you can scroll through here and see. Here's the one from June 15th. It paid you $49.93 on a $1,000 investment. So, and like I said, these bots can be scaled up as big as you want. But what I like to do is do a multiple bots on the same pair, and then I will maybe set one at a 7% averaging order step percent, and then another one at 7.25, depending on how much room you have in your plan and how many bots you want to do and what pairs you want to use. If you just wanted to do all Bitcoin, you could do, uh, you know, one, two, three, four, five, six. You could do six easily and give you a nice range. But I'll usually change that step percent by the point 25, the quarter percent each time, and do one at 7.5, 7.5, 7.75, and then go up to 8. So you saw when I did the 8, it gave me that 14%. The 7.5 gave me the 20%. Let's see what 7.75 gives me. I want to say it was around that 14% again also. So, you're not going to cry over, one of your bots giving you 5% less, hopefully, because hopefully you're at the point where you're going to appreciate anything more than the bank or even staking ETH is going to get you. And just appreciate that any gain, these great gains, these double-digit gains you're getting in a bear market. And these bots are actually going to produce not as well as buying and holding. If you bought here and then sold here, that's a 30% gain already, but you're never going to buy, all your bag at the bottom and then be able to, or sell your bag at the top. So, excuse me, I'm going to get another drink here. Pardon the pause. So I don't play the woulda, shoulda, good. Yeah, if I would have bought here and sold here, I would have made 30%, which is more than 20% that you made in the year with this bot. But that's the whole point of these bots is you just let them do their thing. They make you money. You get paid for doing nothing. So it's really, truly passive income because these bots automatically reset. And the way that we're setting them up with these settings is that they're giving you a 20% APY while the damn coin has fallen 70% at its steepest drop from here to here. And even from the the top here, it's still down 45%. So, you're going to see as it goes up, you're going to see even better than this 20%. But yes, it's not going to be as good as buying and holding. So I have my HODL bag. Now, recently, within the last 2 months, my all my bots had fully vested, and they were basic like it was right about this time, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after. I can't remember exactly. It's been about a month and a half, a little less than 2 months now. And so I took all the coins that my bots had accumulated, and then I took a loan on that, and then putting that loan money into new bots that are optimized for the bear or for the bull market. So they're a little bit more less conservative. They're a little less conservative than these settings that I'm showing you here. So these are pretty conservative settings, but they're going to do well in the bull market too, better than 20%. Because as it moves up, it's going to have these. Let's see here. Let's do a measured move here. And so you had, even on its way up, it went up and then it ranged. So it might be buying and selling depending on how volatile this range is. And then it's going to fully buy this and then sell. And then you're going to get paid that, like we did, like we saw in the back test, that $50 on $1,000 investment. And you're going to have multiple of these 20, 15 to 20% drops. So that's the way I structured my bots for the bowl. But even with these settings, oops, let's just close that out. It wouldn't let me click and drag. This bot will protect you. Come on, this little indicator or this little drawing tool doesn't want to agree with me. So, even if it were to go back and test um, this support here, this bot will fully protect you, and you'll see as it goes down, it's going to buy, and then every time it's going to double the your exposure to it. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, if you have any questions on that, let me know. I'm more than happy to even do a full video to help you guys understand what's going on with these bots. But the other thing I wanted to show you why I chose five, uh, and because I've played around with this too. The averaging order step is the first thing I play around with when I'm doing my back test. But then the other thing I'll do is I'll play around with my price change percentage. And if I were to take that up to six, let's see. So the bot is taking profit at 6% above the DCA. So you can see here that it's changed the amount paid. So what this is telling you here is if you were to start this bot, it's going to immediately buy $31.25. And then when it gets up to this take profit line, it's going to pay you $1.87. But if it drops down here first, this take profit is going to drop down, and I think it pretty much drops down to that last limit order, the way that it's structured here with the doubling on each time. So if it hits this line, then your take profit moves down to this line. Maybe it moves down this line. I'm not 100% sure on that because I don't watch that. But you'll see is that take profit each time it pops down and buys, it will increase. You'll see how much you're expected to make once it takes profit. So if I were to change this price change percent to take profit to 6% rather than 5, watch what this does to my back test. So it ruins it basically. Well, not fully ruins it, but you'll see here it dropped at 5%. But the other thing that it does is it didn't take profit here like the other one did. So instead of just waiting a month, a little bit, month and a week, you're waiting all of February, all of March, and halfway through April before it takes profit. So, and then you can see, let's look at 5.5 because I don't usually mess with these. I found five is a nice sweet spot, but you could also stagger your bots to take profit at different price points too, if you wanted to. So say you're ready to go with this pro count yourself. I'm not going to really do that too much. I found that five is a nice spot. You can see, even though 18%, that's still great, still amazing. But I just prefer to stagger my bots with the averaging step percent. So you can develop your own strategy, and if you wanted to stagger your bots by the take profit price percent change, that's your prerogative. You can do that, whatever you want. It's your money, you do what you want. But one thing, oh, let's see. So this take profit, by changing that, it went, the last time it had activity here, February 4th, and we still had to wait that month and a half. So I like the structure. I like to see on my back test if I can keep my activity, not necessarily my paydays, because it only pays you when it goes up, right? 5% above your DCA to take profit or whatever price percent you choose. But I like to see this where it's like maybe this is a month and a half. And I think on my current bots that I set up, I'm pretty sure I set them up in the middle of July. So of course, all of July and then halfway through August, it's been pretty damn boring. And they maybe made I think they had already made like a 3% gain. I can't remember, but long story short, it was pretty boring over the last month, but everybody was bored. And of course, with these bots, I wasn't mad like most people were with buying and holding, or if they sold the bottom, God forbid. Um, so that's just one of the reasons I chose. I just keep it at five, but you do you, and you can even stagger your bots with this pump dump protection on and off. Because I'm going to switch back over to this bright screen. When you do feel like you're ready for the advanced, and like I said earlier, I recommend waiting until that Black Friday sale, uh, the day after Thanksgiving, because they've past 4 years anyway, they've done a 50% off. So that's what I was using. I think I did this as a monthly until they had that sale my first year, um, just because I wanted the better, more back test and but 50, you know, setting those bots up with $1,000 each, and setting 50 of them up, that's $50,000 already. So, and then you get a 20% return on that. That's 10,000 bucks right there. A lot less than the cost of the software. So, I've been using the software since 2022, and like I said, I started out with the advanced and then worked my way up, and finally this last November I upgraded to the pro account, and now I want to uh, help develop these bot settings to help you on your bot journey. So if you did find this helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, I guess give me a thumbs down. If you want to see more of these videos, subscribe to the channel. And if you have a favorite coin or a question, leave it for me in the comments. And if I can't answer it in the comments, I'll do a video for you. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.